Anna Creek Station's land isn't just home to cattle and people, it supports a range of wildlife adapted to the arid environment. In fact, sometimes the wildlife makes the cattle's life and the manager's jobs more complicated. Kangaroos, especially the big red kangaroos, thrive on the same pasture that cattle do. In good seasons, kangaroo populations boom and huge mobs of roos will converge on any area of fresh green feed or around water troughs. They can compete with livestock for feed and water. Of course, kangaroos are a native species and part of the natural ecosystem, so station managers must work around them. Controlled culling is sometimes done in droughts to reduce suffering when there's not enough feed for all, but generally roos are accepted as part of the backdrop. Tourists might imagine the outback with a kangaroo under every tree. The reality is they're often scattered sparsely, but at times you might indeed see dozens hopping across the flats in early morning or late afternoon. Emus are another iconic resident. These large flightless birds wander the station in small groups, pecking for seeds and insects. They too need water every so often, and it's not uncommon to find emus sharing a cattle trough or pecking around a bore drain. Dingoes, the wild dogs that once plagued the sheep flocks, still roam the outback. Anna Creek lies north of the Great Dingo Fence, a 5,600 kilometre fence that cuts across South A to keep dingoes out of the sheep country in the south. So dingoes are present in the area. For cattle, dingoes are less of a threat. They generally won't attack healthy grown cattle, though calves or weak animals could be at risk. The station's switch to cattle back in the 1860s was largely to get away from dingo predation, and it proved wise. Today, station managers keep an eye on dingo numbers. If they increase, they might bait or shoot to control them, especially if the dingoes start hanging around cattle too much. But many times dingoes subsist on rabbits, kangaroo carcasses and smaller critters and don't cause huge trouble to cattle. At night, their howls can often be heard, reminding everyone that this is still a wild land. There are also feral animals present as a legacy of earlier times. Wild donkeys and horses might be encountered, though not in large mobs like in the Northern Territory. Here, just the odd one or two that have strayed or been left. Kerrell camels, descendants of those camel teams from long ago, roam parts of the outback as well. South Australia's far north has quite a few camels. They aren't often seen near homesteads, but they might appear at a distant waterhole. Camels can be destructive, fouling water sources and knocking down fences, so they're not exactly welcomed. There are periodic culling programs for feral camels across the outback, including around the Lake Eyre region. On a gentler note, the station is also home to myriad smaller creatures. Lizards like goannas and bearded dragons, snakes. Yes, several types of venomous snakes are around, including king browns and mulga snakes. Caution is a way of life. And an array of birds, from wedge-tailed eagles to tiny zebra finches. Wedge-tailed eagles, Australia's largest bird of prey, often soar above the plains and build huge stick nests in the sparse trees or telegraph poles. They are opportunists. After a cattle muster, you'll see them swooping down to feed on any afterbirth or carcasses left behind. One cyclist visiting Anna Creek noted seeing a wedge-tail nest on a transmission tower with a great view over the flat land. At waterholes, especially when ephemeral lakes fill, you can see water birds like ducks, pelicans. If Lake Eyre has water, pelicans famously appear there in droves from thousands of kilometres away. And brolgas, a type of crane that dances in the wetlands. These moments of teeming birdlife are magical in a place that is usually so dry and quiet. The landscape of Anna Creek Station is classic outback desert. Much of it is characterised by gibber plains, flat or gently undulating terrain covered with pebbles of ironstone or gibbers that gleam reddish-brown in the sun. Very tough salt-tolerant grasses and low shrubs like saltbush and samphire grow in pockets across these plains. Then there are sand dune country sections, parallel dunes of red sand, often fixed in place by hardy spinifex grass. These dunes can be dozens of kilometres long and a few metres high, with interdunal swales between them that sometimes catch water. In those swales and around clay pans, you'll find mulga scrub or acacia bushes. Additionally, Anna Creek has areas described as swamps or floodouts, basically low-lying patches that act as natural reservoirs when heavy rain comes. They can be dry salt pans for years, then become temporary wetlands after a downpour. One visually stunning feature on the station is the Painted Hills, a section of vividly coloured eroded sandstone mounds and cliffs revealing bands of orange, red, yellow and white clays. These hills are part of the same geological formation as the famed Painted Desert nearby. For a long time, the Painted Hills on Anna Creek were known only to station locals and a few pilots, but recently the Williams family has allowed limited tourist access via scenic flights. No roads reach them. It's a reminder that this land holds not just cattle, but natural beauty and geological wonder. In fact, Anna Creek Station sits above rich geology. It's on the edge of the Great Artesian Basin and near the ancient Arkaringa Basin, which is rich in minerals and hydrocarbons. More on that shortly. The station's soil and vegetation may seem sparse, but it's a finely balanced ecology that has sustained pastoral use for over 150 years now, largely because those managing it learned to work with the land's limits, not against them. Environmentally, the station's owners partake in regional conservation efforts too. They coordinate with the Pastoral Board and environmental agencies to manage issues like soil erosion, pest control, for example keeping an eye on feral rabbit or camel populations, and preserving any sites of cultural significance. On Anna Creek are also found some historical ruins, not just the telegraph stations mentioned, but also old cattle yards, pioneer graves and even an abandoned copper mine at the peak, dating back to the 19th century. These are protected as heritage, and the station works with authorities to ensure they're not disturbed by cattle or development. Such features add to the ecological tapestry. For instance, old mines might form artificial waterholes that wildlife now use. While cattle are the lifeblood of Anna Creek Station, the land beneath the station has long teased explorers with the possibility of mineral and energy riches. This part of South Australia is known for minerals. Just south of Anna Creek is the famous Olympic Dam mine, one of the world's largest deposits of uranium, copper and gold. To the northwest lies Coober Pedy, where opal was discovered in 1915, spawning a century of opal mining and the quirky underground town that exists today. Anna Creek Station itself has some opal diggings on its margins and various small mineral occurrences, though nothing like a major mine on the station, which is a good thing from the pastoral perspective. The big story in recent years, however, has been oil, or specifically shale oil. In 2013, a Brisbane-based company announced that the geological formation under and around Anna Creek, the Arkaringa Basin, could contain a massive shale oil deposit. They'd been drilling exploration wells on parts of the station and around Coober Pedy, and based on surveys, they estimated there might be 233 billion barrels of oil in the shale rock. Yes, billion with a B, a mind-boggling figure that grabbed headlines worldwide. Media outlets breathlessly reported a potential $20 trillion oil find in South Australia's outback, comparing it to Saudi Arabia's oil bounty. If even a fraction of that oil could be extracted, it could make Australia a net oil exporter and bring a boom to this very remote region. However, there's a big gap between finding oil in the ground and getting it out profitably, especially shale oil, which is trapped in rock and requires complex, costly extraction. Think along the lines of fracking technology. The company, Link Energy, eventually went into administration, and the grand plans have yet to materialise. As of now, no commercial oil production has commenced in Anna Creek Station. The exploration did confirm that the rocks are rich in oil and gas-prone kerogen, but the venture needed huge investment and technological proofs which haven't come through. So the red dirt of Anna Creek remains mostly the domain of cattle, not oil rigs, at least for the present. From the station's perspective, such finds are a double-edged sword. On one hand, having a huge oil reserve could mean royalties or compensation if extraction ever happened on their land. On the other hand, mining or drilling activity can disrupt pastoral operations and the landscape. It's worth noting that Anna Creek Station already coexists with some non-pastoral uses. A portion of the station overlaps with the Woomera Prohibited Area, a vast military weapons testing range. This was actually a key reason why the Australian government was cautious about foreign buyers taking over Anna Creek in 2016. More on that soon. The station's airspace sometimes sees rockets or test missiles soaring overhead from Woomera, a reminder that this empty land is valued for defence purposes too. Additionally, when the prominent Hill copper gold mine was developed not far from Anna Creek, the station cooperated in allowing infrastructure such as access roads or pipelines. In general, outback stations like Anna Creek find ways to work with miners or exploration companies through negotiated land access agreements. But the priority is always to protect the station's water and grazing, so the cattle come first. For instance, any mining company would have to ensure their activities don't deplete the underground water that the station's bores rely on, and they must rehabilitate any land they disturb. In summary, Anna Creek Station sits on top of potential mineral wealth, from opals to possibly significant oil and gas. Yet its true wealth for over a century has been above ground: the grass, the water and the cattle. Those things have kept the station running and will likely continue to do so for the foreseeable future. Still, it's intriguing to think that beneath the hooves of those wandering Santa Gertrudis herds might lie a fortune in oil shale or other resources. Time will tell whether that ever changes the face of Anna Creek. For now, the station remains an outback cattle domain, with the drilling rigs at bay and the horizon unbroken by oil wells.
By the 2010s, Anna Creek Station had been in operation for around 150 years, an impressive feat of endurance. However, big changes were afoot in its ownership. S. Kidman & Co., the historic company that owned Anna Creek and many other stations, decided to sell its holdings. In 2015-2016, a high-profile bidding war and national debate took place over the Kidman empire. Initially, foreign investors, mainly from China, sought to buy the entire portfolio, including Anna Creek. This raised concern in the Australian government, partly because Anna Creek's land intersects the sensitive Woomera weapons testing area. In April 2016, Australia's Treasurer blocked the sale of Anna Creek to a foreign consortium, citing national interest. The solution was to split Anna Creek off from the rest of Kidman & Co. Into the Williams family, local pastoralists from South Australia. The Williams owned several neighbouring cattle stations and were keen to add Anna Creek to their operations. In December 2016, the Williams Cattle Company officially acquired Anna Creek Station and its outstation, The Peak, from Kidman & Co. This move kept the world's largest cattle station in Australian hands, a point that was widely welcomed by the local community and government. The Williams family, led by patriarch Trevor Williams and his son Matthew, now the station manager, were thrilled. They saw it as the culmination of a dream, even dedicating the purchase to Trevor's late father, who had started their cattle business decades earlier in the same region. The sale, reportedly around $16 million for the land, stock and equipment not included, set a record for the district. The Williamses bid aggressively to ensure they got it. They knew opportunities to buy a property like this are exceedingly rare. At the time of handover, Anna Creek had relatively few cattle on it. Kidman Co. had not fully restocked after the drought. But the Williams family had 8,000 head of their own cattle ready to move in and utilise the wide open spaces. In effect, they were ideally positioned to take over. They had cattle numbers and experience in the exact type of country. Since 2016, under Williams' ownership, Anna Creek Station has been gearing up and modernising. The new owners quickly announced big plans to invest in the property. They set about sinking new bores or waters, building new dams and trucking yards and upgrading fences, all to boost the station's carrying capacity and make it more efficient. This included the innovations we discussed earlier, like remote water monitoring and continuing the sustainable grazing strategies. By around 2020, the station herd was stabilised at roughly 9,000 to 10,000 cattle, with the goal to increase that closer to the 16,000 head mark in good seasons. The number of employees has remained lean, typically about 11 people in total, as noted. It's astonishing, but as one article highlighted, just 11 people run the whole of Anna Creek Station nowadays. Those 11 wear many hats, as we've seen, and they exemplify the incredible productivity made possible by modern techniques in tandem with old-fashioned hard yakka, or hard work.
The cattle from Anna Creek today contribute to Australia's beef export industry, often going to feedlots or processors that supply beef to Asia and other global markets. Free-range, organic certified outback beef has a certain cachet, and the Williams are capitalising on that by keeping their operations top-notch. They also keep an eye on diversification. While cattle are king, they know tourism and other uses can provide side income. As mentioned, they've opened up the picturesque corners like the Painted Hills to scenic flight tourism in partnership with local operators, and the historic sites on the station add to the cultural tourism appeal of the Udnadatta track route. Importantly, the Williams family are locals. They've lived in this country for generations, and fellow graziers in the region respect them. When they took over Anna Creek, industry leaders praised the move. Having a family born and bred in that country means they know and understand it and can run it in tune with the environment. This sentiment, expressed by Livestock SA and neighbouring pastoralists, underlines a key idea. Outback stations are not just businesses, they're also custodians of the land. The hope is that under the Williams stewardship, Anna Creek will continue to thrive and perhaps even improve after the somewhat neglectful drought years at the end of Kidman's tenure. Early signs are positive. The station has seen infrastructure upgrades and, when seasons allow, more cattle on the paddocks. Looking to the future, Anna Creek Station faces many of the same issues as all outback properties. Climate variability. Climate change models suggest even more erratic rainfall ahead, which could mean even tougher droughts punctuated by intense floods, market fluctuations in beef prices, and the ongoing need to attract and retain skilled labour who are willing to live in remote areas. There's also the question of succession. Fortunately, the Williams clan is large, with younger members coming through to gradually take the reins. Matthew Williams, the current manager, is one of the younger generation actively running things on site, while his parents oversee their multiple properties from their home base at Nilpena Station nearby. Another factor is technology. We might see solar-powered desalination for water, more extensive use of drones for mustering or monitoring, and even automation in some tasks, perhaps remote-controlled gates or automated feeding stations as the next wave of innovation. But one suspects that no matter how high-tech things get, life on Anna Creek will still involve getting your boots dirty and contending with Mother Nature on a very fundamental level. Finally, it's worth reflecting on what Anna Creek Station represents in the Australian psyche. It's an almost mythical place when people rattle off outback facts. Did you know the biggest cattle station in the world is in Australia? It's bigger than insert country or state here. Indeed, Anna Creek, at around 5.8 million acres, is often compared to the size of Belgium, and it dwarfs even the largest ranches in Texas by a factor of 7 or more. This sheer scale captures the imagination. But those who live and work here know that beyond the statistics, it's the daily realities and the history that make it special. Generations of families, European settler and Aboriginal alike, have called Anna Creek home. Each left their mark, whether in stock roots worn into the earth, or lonely graves on the Gibber Plains, or knowledge passed down of where the clay pans hold water longest after rain. Today, Anna Creek Station stands as a living link between Australia's pioneering past and its innovative present. The station's story is still unfolding, day by day, as stockmen ride out or rev up their bikes, as calves are born and markets fluctuate, as droughts come and go, and as the desert sun rises and sets over the endless horizon. Life on the world's largest cattle station is challenging, no doubt, but it's also rewarding in ways that are hard to measure. It's about freedom, self-reliance, and being tuned to the land. As we conclude our journey through Anna Creek Station's saga, imagine standing at the homestead at dusk. The sky is a blaze of orange and purple. The heat of the day is easing off. You might hear the faint low of a cow from somewhere far out, or the flutter of galas settling in at a gum tree for the night. The station generator hums, and the smells of dinner waft from the cookhouse. In this moment of stillness, you appreciate the incredible enterprise that's taking place here. a handful of people running a property bigger than some cities, producing food for thousands of people, all the while respecting the ancient land under their boots. This is life on Anna Creek Station, a testament to the Australian outback spirit, past and present. And it's a ripper of a story that continues to evolve under those vast, starry skies.